Hello and welcome to your English news here on ERi-TV. It's exactly 10:30 p.m. on Eritrea's local time. With your local and global reports, I'm Zahra Badouri. These are your recapitulations of the top stories. Observance of International Women's Day. Meeting on conservation of cultural heritage. On your global, Israel blocks entry of all humanitarian aid to Gaza. And finally, Putin signs security guarantees with Belarus. Your news in brief. International Women's Day, observed globally on 8 March, was commemorated in Asmara 1st March. The event was organized by the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare and attended by National Association of Disabled Citizens under the ministry's auspices. The program featured cultural performances highlighting the effort of disabled women in providing their livelihoods, the challenges they face, and their resilience in overcoming these obstacles. An exhibition showcasing artifacts created by associations of hearing and vision impaired citizens was also part of the event. Mrs. Lydia Take, chairperson of the National Union of Eritrean Women at the ministry, emphasized that Eritrean women have achieved equality through a long and arduous struggle. She commended the women who continue to work tirelessly to transform challenges into opportunities. Representatives, however, from the National Association of the Visually and Hearing Impaired, the National Association of Eritrean War Disabled Veterans, and the National Association of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities shared their experiences. The event was attended by Mrs. Luul Gabrab, Minister of Labor and Social Welfare, representatives of the UN office in Eritrea, and invited guests. On your domestic proceeding, a meeting focusing on the conservation of intangible cultural heritage was held in Ghurdat on 25th of last February. The event was organized by the Commission of Cultural and Sports. Mr. Idris Saleh, Director of General of Culture and Sports in the Gash-Barka region, however, emphasized that intangible cultural heritage is a fundamental expression of societal identity. He stressed the need for thorough research and documentation to ensure its preservation for future generations. He also noted that initiatives are also underway to document both intangible and tangible heritages within the region. Experts in the field provided extensive briefings on different types of cultural heritage, their significance, and the importance of conservation, as these elements are directly tied to the national identity. Mr. Isa Ta'um, administrator of the subzone, highlighted the event of such meetings in raising public awareness about cultural heritages as well. He also called for similar gatherings, particularly those engaging the youth. Participants, however, expressed their commitment to contributing to efforts aimed at identifying and documenting cultural heritages within the subzone. We'll be back with your global after this. On your international line, Israel has blocked the entry of all humanitarian aid into Gaza as it demands Hamas agree to a U.S. plan for a ceasefire extension. The first phase of the ceasefire expired on Saturday. Israeli Prime Minister, however, Benjamin Netanyahu office says Hamas had so far refused to accept a temporary extension under the proposal by President Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff. A Hamas spokesman said blocking supplies to Gaza was, quote-unquote, cheap blackmail and a coup on the ceasefire agreement, and argued mediators to intervene. The Palestinian group wants phase 2 of the deal to go ahead as originally negotiated, with the release of hostages and Palestinian prisoners and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. A statement from Netanyahu's office, however, says, in quotation, with the end of the first phase of the hostage deal, in light of Hamas's refusal to accept the Witkoff outline for continuing talks, to which Israel agreed, Prime Minister Netanyahu has decided that as of this morning, all entry of goods and supplies into Gaza Strip will cease. However, the Hamas spokesman said Netanyahu's decision to stop aid going into Gaza once again showed the ugly face of the Israeli occupation. The international community must apply pressure on the Israeli government to stop starving their people. Late last night, Netanyahu's office released Israel had agreed to a U.S. proposal for the ceasefire to continue for about 6 weeks during the Muslim Ramadan and Jewish Passover periods. The first phase of the ceasefire, however, that came into force on 19th of last January expired on Saturday. It halted 15 months of fighting between Hamas and the Israeli military, allowing the release of 33 Israeli and 5 Thai hostages and about 1,900 Palestinian prisoners and detainees. But negotiations on phase 2, including the release of remaining living hostages and the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, have barely begun. On your final report, Russian President Vladimir Putin has ratified a security treaty with Belarus, reinforcing military ties between the two nations within the United States and integrating Minsk into Moscow's nuclear entrance strategy. The treaty, which was signed into law on Friday after being agreed on in December at a meeting of the Supreme State Council of the United States in Minsk, commits both countries to defend each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It also allows for the potential use of Russian nuclear weapons to protect Belarus in case of aggression. Top Russian Senator Valentina Matvienko said that the agreement is crucial given the current geopolitical tensions. The treaty, which includes a provision against unilateral sanctions, is set to last for 10 years with automatic extension. However, a key provision allows for the deployment of Russian tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. Russia has already stationed ballistic missiles in the country as part of the United States partnership. Under the agreement, Belarus could request their use if demand necessary. Both countries consider Russia's nuclear arsenal a deterrent against threat to be used only as a last resort. Following the signings of the treaty, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko requested the deployment of Russian ERi-TV intermediate range ballistic missiles. The new system, which featured a hypersonic upper stage, could be stationed in Belarus in the second half of the year 2025, according to President Putin. The ERi-TV was unveiled last year and tested in Ukraine, however, where it was used to strike Yoshimash military industrial facility in Dnipro in November. Seconds and your recapitulations of the major headlines. Observations of International Women's Day. Meeting on conservation of cultural heritage and all that. Israel blocks entry of all humanitarian and aid into Gaza. Putting signed security guarantees for Belarus. Wishing you all a happy holy month of Ramadan and Easter fastings. That is all for now from us here on ERi-TV. Thanks for watching once more.